Sometimes, God hides love in plain sight, not as a stranger who suddenly appears, but as a mirror reflecting back the parts of your soul you've forgotten. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But Jung also believed that such meetings are never random. They are the fingerprints of divine orchestration. Because when the soul is ready, God doesn't send a lover. He sends a mirror. And when you finally meet that mirror, you won't even realize what you've just found. Not at first. Because every divine meeting begins as a mystery you can't explain. And only later, when your heart has grown enough to understand, you look back and realize God had been introducing you all along. In the quiet design of the universe, every soul moves along an invisible thread, a golden line of synchronicity that weaves your life toward its destined encounters. You may think you're making random choices, walking alone, chasing coincidence, but the truth is you are being guided by a force too subtle to name, too perfect to doubt. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that carry the fingerprints of the divine. It's the way heaven whispers through the ordinary. It's how God introduces you to your soulmate long before your mind has language for it. You might meet through pain. You might meet through silence. You might meet in the strangest, most inconvenient of times. But the pattern beneath your story is never chaos. It's choreography, because in the divine plan, there are no accidents. Only appointments written in spirit long before you were born. In this journey, we'll explore 4 ways God introduces you to your soulmate. Not through fantasy or prediction, but through the sacred psychology of awakening that both Jung and mystics understood. That love is not something you find. It's something you remember. Before you ever meet your soulmate in the outer world, God will first introduce you to them within yourself. It often begins as a haunting, a mysterious longing. You start to sense a presence inside you, a missing half, a soul echo. You don't have their face or their name, but you feel their essence vibrating through your dreams, your silence, your art. Jung called this inner figure the anima, in a man, or animus, in a woman, the hidden, unconscious counterpart of your soul. It's the divine feminine or divine masculine living inside you. When you begin to heal, this inner figure awakens, and God uses it to prepare you. So how does God introduce you through this first way? By making you face yourself. You begin to meet pieces of your own soul that you once abandoned. You face your insecurities, your loneliness, your emotional wounds. You start to realize, before you can meet your soulmate in truth, you must first meet the truth within yourself. The mirror phase feels lonely. You'll ache for connection, yet be guided into solitude. You'll crave love, yet everything external will fall short. Why? Because this is divine isolation, the sacred period where God detoxes your heart from attachment, so that what enters next will be pure recognition, not projection. You start to become your own soulmate first, and only then can your external soulmate appear without distortion. Many people mistake this stage as punishment, but in reality it's spiritual calibration. God isn't delaying your meeting. He's tuning your soul to the right frequency, so when your paths cross, you'll actually recognize each other. Now comes the second way, the most misunderstood of all: timing. You see, you don't find your soulmate through effort. You find them through alignment. And alignment is God's domain. There are seasons when love must wait. Not because you're unworthy, but because divine love requires divine timing. And timing is not measured in days, but in maturity. You might cross paths with the right person at the wrong time. And that's not rejection, it's rehearsal. You're both still being written into readiness. God doesn't bring two half-formed souls together. He perfects each in their own wilderness until both can meet without wounding each other. This is where patience becomes your prayer. Because divine timing isn't about waiting passively. It's about preparing actively. It's the sacred pause before the symphony. You'll notice strange synchronicities during this phase. Songs that speak your longing, dreams that hint at someone's presence, repeated numbers or symbols that follow you like whispers. Jung would say your unconscious is aligning with the pattern of your destiny. You are being drawn by the invisible hand of providence. The same hand that placed stars in the sky knows when to let two souls collide. So if you find yourself waiting, trust this. The delay is not a denial. It's divine choreography, ensuring that when you finally meet, the meeting will mean something eternal. Jung once said, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." And this is the third way God introduces your soulmate, through the mysterious orchestration of signs that seem too perfect to be coincidence. You might meet someone in a setting that feels strangely familiar. You might hear their name before meeting them. You might share childhood experiences that mirror your own in uncanny ways. Or perhaps you've both dreamed of each other before ever meeting. This is not fantasy, this is soul memory. Your higher selves recognize what your human selves are still discovering. Synchronicity is God's handwriting on the pages of your life. It's His way of saying, pay attention. Maybe you both felt drawn to the same place at the same time. A bookstore, a park, a cafe, or even an online space. Maybe you both went through parallel heartbreaks that shaped you into compassion. Maybe your paths have been circling each other for years, missing by minutes, until finally, destiny says, now. That now moment is electric. You feel like you've met before. There's comfort in the unfamiliar, and a silence between you that feels like home. This is the echo of divine recognition, and you can't manufacture it, you can only receive it. Jung taught that synchronicities are the bridges between the psyche and the divine. So when these moments happen, don't brush them away. They are confirmation that something higher is moving beneath the surface. But remember, synchronicity is not possession. It's not a guarantee of lifelong partnership. It's an invitation to grow, to awaken, to mirror divine love more fully. Some souls appear not to stay, but to activate you, to remind you of the divine design within you. Because the true soulmate is not just someone you love, it's someone who awakens the love of God within you. By the time you reach the fourth way, something profound happens. Your definition of love changes. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer crave completion, you radiate wholeness. And in that stillness, God reveals what He had been preparing all along. The union that transcends desire. This is not lust. It's not fantasy or obsession. It's peace. It's the moment two souls look at each other and recognize God in the other's eyes. It's not a spark. It's a remembering. You both carry the same essence, the same spiritual DNA. When you unite, it feels less like falling in love and more like coming home. This union has divine purpose. You no longer meet to consume each other's love. You meet to co-create with God, to serve, to heal, to express divine compassion through your relationship. This is the point Jung called individuation, when two whole souls meet not to fill emptiness, but to mirror fullness. The relationship becomes an alchemical vessel, a crucible for transformation. Together you evolve faster. Together you awaken deeper. Together you embody what divine love actually looks like in human form. But notice, this union doesn't erase your individuality. True soulmate love honors difference while revealing unity. It's two flames dancing separately, but burning from the same fire. When you meet your soulmate at this level, you'll recognize that the real union was never physical. It was always spiritual. And that realization brings the highest peace. You could lose the person but not the connection, because that connection exists in the eternal fabric of the soul. If you look back at your journey now, you'll see the pattern, the mirror of inner healing, the dance of divine timing, the echo of synchronicity, and the union beyond desire, each a step in God's hidden curriculum of love. Every heartbreak, every delay, every coincidence, none of it was random. It was the divine sculpting of your soul. Because the truth is, God never introduces your soulmate suddenly. He introduces them slowly, through lessons, signs, and inner preparation. So when you finally meet, you'll have eyes that can truly see. The soulmate is not sent to complete you. They are sent to reflect the part of God within you that you were always meant to remember. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But when you awaken, you realize fate was never blind. It was divine all along. And maybe, just maybe, your soulmate has been part of that divine plan since before you took your first breath. So when you meet them, in this life or the next, you won't even need to ask, 'Is this the one?' Because your soul will already know. If this message spoke to your soul, take a moment tonight to be still, not to search but to remember, to thank God for the people who came as mirrors, for the lessons that came as delays, and for the love that's being written for you even now beyond your awareness. Because somewhere on another thread of the same divine tapestry, your soulmate is walking the same path, healing, growing, and learning to recognize you too. And when the time is right, the same hand that separated you will bring you face to face. Until then, keep your heart open, your faith steady, and your spirit in tune with the quiet rhythm of God's timing. Because love, the real kind, doesn't rush. It arrives when heaven says, "Now."